What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Before the Odds podcast. Today, we're going to recap our picks from Saturday, March 4th at Gulfstream Park, the ones we talked about on the podcast last week. Let's just say it wasn't the best of days for a lot of us on this podcast. As you can see, my boy Big Willis, he's not with me. Usually on these recaps, it might just be me. He's got 4 daughters. He's coaching softball today. Everybody in that softball world, if you're in that softball world, you already know how the travel schedule is. It's games every weekend, practices almost every night. So we miss you, Big Willis. Shout out Dirt Dogs. Hopefully you guys are out there winning some championships. All right, now let's get back to Saturday. Saturday's recap. The first thing I want to start off with is my best bet in the 2-minute warning. The 2-minute warning we did at the end of the show last week, I talked about the pick 3 specifically at the beginning of this card. The problem is I didn't have a certain horse that ended up winning that race called Smokin' Jay. And not because I got a friend named Jay, because that's not, to me, those Swami plays they're going to hit 1 out of 10 times. And when you do hit, it's a big one. But that wouldn't be the reason why I would have taken this horse. All right, but we're going to go through the card and I'm going to talk about it. So we're going to go race 1 and I'm going to look at this PP right here, okay? If you look at this PP and you see... Sorry, the light's a little bright on it, huh? Smokin' Jay's right here. You can't really tell. But right here, whenever you're looking at PPs, there's a thing called gelded. Now, if I would have really looked, I can't believe I missed this. I had 4 horses in here. I had the 1, the 6, the 11, the 12. Smokin' Jay was the 2. I missed this one, okay? This horse, coming off a layoff. When I'm talking about coming off layoffs, I don't care if it's a sprint race. They can come off as long as they off as they want. They're going 5, 6 furlongs. Those are basically workout distances. So as far as like layoffs go, this one for me, no big deal. I actually had another horse in here, the 1 who was coming off a layoff and out of a good race with Golden Pal. So back to Smokin' Jay, the winner of this race, who ended up being 9-1, actually 10-1 payout. So plus 1,000 for you sports bettors out there. Smokin' Jay ran in the grade 1 Jaiper against Casa Creed. Casa Creed a week and a half ago just won just got second over in Dubai for like a $5 million race. So obviously this horse has some back class, just like the 1 did. But not only that, this horse attended the pace his last race at Colonial and ended up getting beat by a quarter of a length, right? This horse then goes to the bench and gets gelded. All right. So obviously the horse went to the bench to get gelded. Now, if you have pets at home, you know when you have a crazy male dog, they get neutered, they calm down. Well, that's exactly what happened to this horse. He got gelded. Smokin' Jay sat out the pace, came running at the end, and this was a miss on us. This can't happen. I can't miss this first time, this gelded horse, because that's why he went to the bench. He was ready for this race. Had consistent trainings down at Gulfstream, and he had prior back class. Those are all things you look for in a race like this. So I should have had him on my pick 3 ticket. I should have made money yesterday, and I didn't, unfortunately. That was one of the races that is the one that I'm beating myself up time and time again. Look for that G on your PPs. Make sure it's circled in black and written in white ink if you're printing out black and white ink PPs. And, yeah, that was a big miss, bummed out. On to the next. We talked about race 2 and that best bet. That was an all for me. So I was doing that pick 3. It was an all, and that was fine. I think we had a 4-1 come home, just Catherine. Going into the 3rd race, up to the mark. Lived up to all the building. The Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz duo, and you had up to the mark in the 1 hole, going 2nd on the turf ever, and ran a perfect race. Sat almost a perfect trip. Irad had to come super late like he always does and finished right on the nose and got us the W there. So if you had Smokin' Jay in that first race, congratulations. That pick 3 paid well. I think it was $155 on the dollar. I did a $2.50 pick 3. Unfortunately, I didn't get it home. Would have added Smokin' Jay if I would have really read. I must have got late in the week, but really focus and look for those G's. Look for those first-time L's, those first-time Lasix, or those gelded horses something to change it up, especially a horse that's on the pace. If you have a horse that's on the pace in their last race, then they're gelded, they're going to relax a little bit. So they're going to have just as much run. That horse had just as much back class as any horse in that field, and he was 9-1. He was a grade 1 runner, not a winner, but a runner, and it was in some good company, and you had him at 9-1. He started at 20-1, so people were betting him, and, congratulations to those who won. On to race, we skipped race 4. That was the other maiden. We go to race 5. That maiden was Scotland. We didn't have that horse, but that was another maiden race where you could hit all. Another 4-1 came home. But we go to race 5, and I like the race. I like the horses we had. Now, I will say this. Looking at it now, I looked at OK Boomer, and, won last time on Lasix, and this was a big thing, Lasix. You're going to hear me talk about Lasix today a lot, because a lot of the horses that I didn't take, I was happy about. So that was the good thing. I threw out a lot of horses that were running on Lasix, and then they had to run off because it was a stakes race at Gulfstream, and you can't be on Lasix. So I threw a lot of horses out that did that, and it actually worked out well. And then there were some that were coming off a race where they got Lasix, but that was off of a layoff. I'll explain that also. All right, so we had OK Boomer, the 2, the 4, the 6, right? The 9, Dude in Colorado, ended up coming home, winning that race. Got the perfect trip. There was nothing we could do about it. I was a little disappointed in my OK Boomer pick. Luis Saez, Todd Pletcher, you can't mess up that duo. But I will say this, Luis had a pretty bad day yesterday on some good horses and couldn't come home at all. OK Boomer just came off Lasix, and this is why I don't like this horse now that I look at it. OK Boomer had just run 2 races, so there was no layoff, nothing like that. OK Boomer goes 2 races, no Lasix, then Lasix. I don't know why they gave Lasix the second time, because he won the first race. Maybe he bled after the first race when he was out there. I guess coming, So I don't know, but them having him on Lasix that last race, I don't like, and I shouldn't have had OK Boomer. I'm going to put that out there. As far as Webslinger goes, this is a perfect example of why I like Lasix. Okay? Webslinger, through his first 4 races of his career, he never had Lasix. Okay? He ran in the Breeders' Cup juvenile turf. Didn't do well, but was in a lot of good company. So obviously I like that horse. I bet him last time out. Well, the last time he came out off of a layoff, he had Lasix. I like that. That's okay that he had Lasix. So don't just see the Lasix and be like, I'm not going to take it. See why they gave the Lasix. Well, they gave the Lasix specifically because the horse was coming off of a layoff, and they wanted to make sure, the connections wanted to make sure he didn't injure himself or bleed coming out of that race, right? So Webslinger I really liked. That was a good pick. Santorini, another one. This is like, come on, bro. You got to be better. Didn't come off a layoff. Did switch trainers to Todd Pletcher. I like, but the last race, no layoff. But it was I will say this, it was the first race on turf. So, we thought there'd be an improvement. Santorini, but got Lasix. Didn't win any races before. Had 2 races before, 2 maidens on the dirt. Didn't win. Got Lasix last time and won. Was coming into this race. It was a stakes race, and the horse didn't get Lasix and didn't run well. And then you had Dude in Colorado, a horse that's never gotten Lasix, a horse that ran well and left out of a race, which we're going to go back to, right? Left out of a race with Major Dude and Candidate. That was a really good race, and ended up getting 3rd in that race, and now came back and won the not the Kitten's Joy, the Colonel Liam this last week is Saturday. Hats off to them. If I could have, I should have been Webslinger, and I should have had Dude in Colorado here. Santorini. OK Boomer, I got to see that next time. But once again, if we're talking Lasix, I'm okay with Lasix first off the layoff, preventing the horse from any injury coming out of that race. Race 6. Here we go again, the very one. Another stakes race. Another stakes race where there's no Lasix allowed, right? So I looked at the PPs, and right away there was a horse in there. All of his races he had been on Lasix. He was a long shot. Sure, you want to bring home price plays, but There's no way I'm taking this horse. Lasix all the way through. Couldn't have Lasix, Libretto, and didn't run a step. Okay. This one was not a tough one to swallow, but I liked that I threw out Lady Rockstar. Lady Rockstar in here was a horse that Wills and I had bet before at Churchill. But if you look back at her past PPs, okay, you see Lasix. Had never won a race off Lasix 2 times after that. Came into this race. You can't have Lasix. I didn't like that horse. I didn't have that horse. Now, I missed out. This is going to be one of our turf ladies to keep an eye on. Of course, Chatty Brownie does it right. Now, what was crazy about this one, my lady got home with Edgar Zayas. That's not even the top rider for Chad Brown. That's like the 3rd rider in that. So it was the famous saying, if you ever get, this happens a lot in California, especially at Santa Anita, when you get Bob Baffert, he has about 3 or 4 horses in a race. Last night in the Kilroy Mile, you had Phil D'Amato on the turf. He had 4 horses in a race. They always say whenever there's the same trainer and he has those horses, take the longer shot. My lady came home at 8-1, paid plus 900 for you sports bettors. I mean, coming out of the EP Taylor, which was a grade 1 Woodbine event, coming off a layoff. If it's Chad Brown, ignore the layoff. Like, you can ignore the layoff. He is that good when it comes to horses. Doesn't matter how long it's been. And unfortunately for me, I took the Virginia Joy in this instance off the layoff with Irad, thinking, and then that was the shorter price. And then instead, the 8-1 came on my lady and looked really good doing it. So that is definitely a turf lady we need to watch out for. My lady at Chad Brown. Just 2nd race in the States. Here and race 7, White Barrio, my boy. I love White Barrio, my Florida Derby winner from last year. Paid out our group pick 5. This horse for me was a great. I thought this was a great spot for him. I took Wayburn also. I know Wills had Wayburn, and then I also added Collaborate. If you were watching the podcast, and if you liked those 3 horses, and if you put them in a trifecta, you would have hit the trifecta. I can't remember exactly what it paid, but White Barrio on top, looked good doing it, dropping in class. I mean, this was a great spot for him. He looked good. I'm looking forward to the rest of his season. Got Lasix for the 2nd time. That helped out a lot. And, that was a great job. I thought Wayburn did well too. And we brought home the trifecta in that race. So not bad, but not a big price. But if you had my lady in the race before and you ran that double with 267, you paid real well. Unfortunately, I didn't have my lady, but I had White Barrio, and we didn't make any money on that instance. On to race 8. Race 8, we had the Canadian Turf. And we had Emmanuel. Here's another instance. You have first time coming out off the layoff, Lasix. I'm fine with that. 2nd time out, now had no Lasix because it was a stakes race. So no Lasix is fine with me if they had Lasix off a layoff. Horse came out, ran well. Javier Castellano, perfect trip, drove through. Now, I will say this. Fort Washington was my upset pick. So I like the Emmanuel to sit closer to the pace. And if you're playing Gulfstream, you want your horses closer to the pace. I was watching races today. I've been watching the whole meet. And it's insane on that turf. You really need horses that are going to be close and attending the pace. You don't want them to be way back. So it's kind of like a throwout the next time we get over there when we're doing Florida Derby prep for Gulfstream or any weekend. We're talking about Gulfstream. We want those horses close to the pace of the turf because it is dry and super fast. Fort Washington, another horse I'm going to tell you to watch out for. I like this horse a lot. Hadn't run on Lasix the last 3 races, so I didn't mind taking this horse. Had run on Lasix previously, but it had been a long time. So I liked this horse. Had a good finishing run in December, and so when we came into this race, same thing. Unfortunately, I think the mile on the 16th, and that's what they went. I think that's a good spot for Fort Washington. I think that's a really good distance. Fort Washington, Shug McGahee trained, Jose Ortiz on board. I like Fort Washington a lot. Made a great run at the end of the race and just came up a neck short, got 3rd. I like that horse going forward. If I see that horse in a couple races, I'm definitely going to have some money on him. But yes, Emmanuel is top dog. He looks good. I look for him to be in more coming forward. Grade 2, grade 3s. Also out of that race, steady on, performed really well. And this was one of the few ones that had just gotten Lasix in the last race and ran well, and then ran well off Lasix. So this horse, with Irad and Todd, I mean, you can't ignore Todd, man. He had some good horses out there. Some of his best didn't fire, but some did. And unfortunately, I had both. I had some that did, so I didn't get great prices, and I had some that didn't, and I lost money because I had them. Our next race, right? We got Cairo Consort. This Cairo Consort was one of the top dogs that Wills and I talked about. We really liked Cairo Consort. We really liked Munage Daydream, and unfortunately, we didn't get any of them home. Munage Daydream went to the lead and couldn't finish. Cairo Consort was too far off, didn't get the trip. Irad was lagging back. It's like when we talked about that race with Cairo Consort, left at the gate last time out by like 6-7 lengths, and what a beast move it was. It was almost like sometimes when that happens to a horse, it's almost better for some horses. And I think it was better for Cairo Consort. And then Cairo Consort comes out Saturday, has a great break, and just couldn't really beat these other horses. And so I think that's one of Todd's lesser horses going forward. And then you had the horse Dance how do you say it? Dance Macabre. I know this, Macabre. Right? This horse, Danner Kelsey, trainer 5%. I mean, I think it was 8-9 to 1. Great. I mean, hats off if you had it. It was coming out of the matron, coming off a layoff, had never run over 6.5 furlongs. And this horse came in, and that's what I tell you. Don't worry about off layoffs when it comes to turf horses. Now, when it's longer races, it's a little bit tougher. But so in this position, you weren't expecting it. But somebody knew something. The horse had been training really well. The last training out, and this is something you could look at also, a horse coming off the layoff was first out of 66 on February 26. Ran 4 furlongs and 47-1. So that's pretty good. So this horse was definitely ready to run. And run. He did. And also, another example, this horse has never had Lasix. Never had Lasix. So running off Lasix, coming off a layoff didn't matter. Horse never had Lasix. Neither did Cairo Consort, but you had a better price with that horse. So hats off to the connections. Well played. Race 10. Pick 5, Johnny. Start of the pick 5. All right, no Stokes today. I don't do Stokes on the recap show. I'm recovering from last night, licking my wounds. Unfortunately, it was a rough one. Hopefully some of you had better days, but boy, it was tough for me yesterday. I was expecting better. But this race, man, crazy. Here it is, Todd Pletcher's prize horse. This could be the next Breeders' Cup champ. Like that's what I thought of this horse. A lot of people do. Maybe still do. Charge It. Todd Pletcher, Luis Saez. I mean, this was it. This was another one where Luis hit, out of the gate. But I also said simplification and endorsed. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, is this oh, man, Big Willis. Big Willis. Shout out Big Wills. Nitrous Channel. That was his 2-minute warning. Best bet. Single in the pick 5. We'll give Wills a little credit. We'll give you some credit, Wills. You did play against Charge It. I'll give you credit for that. But yeah, I don't think you should have made fun of my endorsed pick and celebrated your Nitrous Channel pick. But needless to say, no bourbon coming to you this week, bud. Yeah, man, endorsed. Off Lasix last time. Ran a good race in a grade 3. In the same distance that they were coming into on Saturday. Smoked it. Sat just off the pace and pounced. Did the same thing to Charge It. Incredible. And who is it? Freaking Money. I'm making this up. I'm patenting this. It was freaking Money Michael Maker and Tyler Gaffley-Owned. Tyler Gaffley-Owned had some really good races on Saturday. And Mike Maker has had some pretty good wins over the last couple weeks. And I mean, this one was nice. Endorsed just set off the pace, finished strong. I had endorsed in my Saber pick 5. Unfortunately, some of the other legs didn't come together, like the 45-1 shot Darth Vader winning. But, it was good to be alive and maybe have a shot, but man, endorsed ran a hell of a race. Simplification, that horse needs to go to the bench and take a long break. Charge it. Hopefully better next time out. But yeah, I didn't see much. Hopefully better next time out, because I'd like to see that horse in some graded stakes races. I want to see that horse come alive. I mean, that horse is a beast when it runs well, but man, he laid a fat dud yesterday. Race 11, Faith in Humanity. Chad Brown, Joel Rosario. Joel spotting. I hadn't seen him in a while getting that victory circle, but he did well on this horse yesterday. Gate to Wire, another speed horse. 5-1, paid plus 600 for my sports bettors out there. I like that horse. I just didn't have that horse. Wills had that horse. Speak of the Devil, another dud laid. Speak of the Devil, Chad Brown. I mean, this horse, the first race ever, but this is interesting. You go back to that first race that Speak of the Devil won in the States at Churchill Downs. This Churchill Downs form is very muddied because that turf track last year was not well. So these horses that have raced there and done well, it's almost like a 50-50 shot if they're going to be good anywhere else or not. I thought this horse would show a lot better, didn't. And once again, you had Speak of the Devil, a Chad Brown. So you had Speak of the Devil, and you had, Faith in Humanity. Faith in Humanity, 5-1. Speak of the Devil, 3-2. Take the higher odds horse with the same trainer if you're looking at that angle. That angle worked really well yesterday. And then my horse, White Frost. Unfortunately, Sweet Danny Girl got to the lead. Too much work, too much class. Couldn't hang on. White Frost, on the other hand, looked great coming towards the end. Ran out of room. Here it is again. You don't want to be that far back. You don't want to be that far back on this track. And they didn't have a fast pace, and the horse had to do a lot of work. I will bet White Frost next time out if we get better than odds on. But, the horse was 2-1. Was hoping to get it home. I had Speak of the Devil, White Frost, and Danny Girl, and unfortunately we just couldn't get her home. White Frost looked great. Billy Mott, I mean, he's got a hot barn right now. He's got some really good horses, really good talent. Keep an eye on that horse, White Frost, going forward. And also, I mean, Faith in Humanity ran a really good race. It's another horse. Speak of the Devil, I don't trust that horse. I haven't trusted that horse since she lost to Regal Glory in the Just a Game, and I don't trust that horse now. So, on to race 12. Man, did I miss this? I think everybody did, because the pick 6 carried over into today at Gulfstream. The freaking fillies, man, the 3-year-old fillies, my famous saying, Wills, can't trust a 3-year-old filly, and man, is that saying better now more than ever. Darth Vader and the Davona Dale coming home at 45-1. Are you kidding me? All you Star Wars fans, I hope you were betting, because you would have won a lot of money. Not like me, who had red carpet ready, almost the odds-on favorite. And that horse just laid a fat dud. I will say this, coming out of that race, Guns and Graces for Chad Brown really impressed me. Came on super late. That horse really impressed me and was all the way up, I think, to 25-1 when the race went off. So, I mean, that's a good horse, and you had 25-1. If you had a win-play show on that, that was a good little bet right there. Red carpet ready. I honestly think, so you watch her last race, and she stumbles, almost touches her nose, goes to the lead, and wins it like gutty. I almost think when she got done with that race, she was exhausted. And I think when they came back to this one a month later, the horse just wasn't ready for that same effort. The horse broke well. Horse worked to the lead. Darth Vader just sat right off. They didn't go faster than what she's gone before, and she just had nothing in the tank. So I really do think looking at your PPs, watching those replays, seeing certain horses run makes a difference. And I think if I could have went back, and I'm not talking about every race, right? Because you're going to lose some. You're just going to lose some. You're not going to see certain things, or some things are going to happen, like a 45-1 shot's going to win, and you have nothing to say. And that's just the bottom line. But I will say, thinking about that race that she came out of, I think she worked really hard, and I just think it wasn't her day yesterday. I think she was exhausted still. And, I mean, when you saw her turn for home, she just died. Nothing in the tank. Red carpet ready was hoping. Another Luis Saez lost on Saturday, and I was just really hoping to see that horse do well, maybe get like a Serengeti Empress-esque horse going forward, but no bueno. Was disappointed, undervalued asset. That was Chad Brown's horse. Didn't run well at all. I rat on that. And our turf race, we had this horse, Wills and I, Value Engineering, great win. And who is it? None other than Money Mike Maker. He's a beast. He is a beast, man. He claimed this horse. I think they claimed it or switched trainers from Chad to Mike, man. And I don't like to see Chad's horses with somebody else because usually that means the horse is like kind of spiraling downward. But Mike Maker has like resurrected some of these horses. Horse came in off 2 races, off Lasix, ran well in both, and broke the board. I think it was like 6-1 came home. The double paid great into Forte. The double paid $14 into Forte. So you could have had 3 horses here and singled Forte and made some good money on that double. $14, $10 dub, $140. Probably cost you $30 if you got 3 by 1. So Value Engineering, nice horse, ran well. Also in here was Marwad. Marwad was the added entry. We didn't talk much about that horse, which I'm upset about because I would have explained to you guys how I like that horse. This is the only horse that I really liked that had his last 4 races on Lasix, and now he was off Lasix this race. I didn't like that, but he was carrying 2 pounds less, and he ran really convincing last out at a similar distance. So I wanted to see that horse. I think he was going to do well again. He did. He got second. I thought he was going to pass Value Engineering. It was close, but Value Engineering gutted it out, finished strong, and I think that's where like the no Lasix comes into play. I think that other horse who had Lasix didn't have the lung capacity as much as the Mike Maker horse, who was finishing at the end with no Lasix the last 2 races out and that race yesterday. So Value Engineering, Mike Maker, Money Mike Maker at Gulfstream is how they need to call him now. Money Mike Maker with the dub again. All right, the final race, race 14, recap weekend. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Here it is, the 3-year-old Colts, inconsistent. You had Confidence Game at the Rebel, winning at 19-1. You had the John Battaglia last night, winning at 16-1. Congruent. And then you have, so here we go. Oh, it's got to be Rocket Can. It's got to be Madge. It's got to be all these long shots. Wrong. Forte proved to us, once again, just like he did in the Breeders' Cup Futurity, he is the best 3-year-old. Period. Point blank. Forte will be a single for me, whether he goes to the Florida Derby or he goes to the Bluegrass, depending. I'm just saying that now, but I'll probably change my mind by then. But, I mean, that horse looked phenomenal. Rapoli Stables, I mean, they're a top group. It was crazy. I thought the way that horse looked, he did it with such ease, coming off a layoff. And, I mean, just, beat the field. I thought Rocket Can ran well. Definitely disappointed in Shadow Dragon, but hey, that's another one. I look at it, and Shadow Dragon last time was 35-1. Then you're getting 17-1. You don't get as much value, and they're in a tougher race. It's like I shouldn't have had that horse. Rocket Can, Madge was good, and Forte. Shout out to whoever did hit the pick 5 because you won $12,000 on a 50 cent, $24,000 on $1, and you only had to single the favorite, who was 2-5. So, I mean, could have been an easy pick 5 for Johnny, but no, I definitely don't think I would have had Darth Vader if I go over those PPs and I watch these replays about 1,000 times, man. Coming out of Tampa, you didn't expect that performance, but I think it was more Red Carpet Ready's performance I didn't expect, but going back and thinking about it, that horse just didn't have the energy that yesterday. I think she could run some better races, but she put too much out there that last race prior to, and then she wasn't ready for this one. So you get race 14, Forte. What else can I say? He's a beast. He's the best 3-year-old colt. It's him, it's Arabian Night, and then it's the rest of them, I think. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the rest of this Derby trail goes. That's the exciting part about it, is we're going to get a lot of freaking races from now till that first Saturday in May, and it's going to be a good time. To finish off the recap Saturday, there was something I wanted to talk about. Oh, that's right, the John Battaglia, congruent. I'm sitting at my buddy's house last night, and I'm going over these PPs. I'm talking about certain things I missed, and here it is. I'm like, all right, I'm going to look at these PPs on DRF. If you ever want to get good PPs on your phone, go to DRF, and I'm going to look at congruent. Congruent came out of the Breeders' Cup Futurity race. He had never had Lasix, right? And they couldn't have Lasix in the John Battaglia over at Turfway Park. And he had come out of a really good turf race. So he had been on dirt and turf. I think that's good when you go on the synthetic, because over at Turfway they run on the synthetic. I think it's good if you have a horse that's run on dirt and turf, because it's kind of like an in-between. So they've done both. Came out of the Major Dude candidate race, okay? The same one that Dude in Colorado came out of. So he went back, and I said, you know what? I like this horse. I had 2 horses in there. I think it was the 12 and the 11. And the 12 came home, man. And that's just always look at Lasix, understand why they're giving the horse Lasix, and understand the value of having a horse that's never had Lasix running off Lasix when you have other horses that have had Lasix a lot, and now they're running off of it. So that's it for our weekend recap. I hope you guys had Smokin' Jay. I hope you guys had Forte singled. I hope you were smart enough to take the longer shot Chad Browns of My Lady and Faith in Humanity. And also and then a couple other things is thinking about these other fillies and thinking about horses going forward. So I mentioned My Lady, White Frost, Fort Washington, Value Engineering, Turf. 3-year-old Colts, Forte, exclamation point, times 1,000. And 3-year-old fillies, Guns and Graces coming out of that last race, man. I liked how she looked. I liked how she finished, and I think going longer, she might be a little threat with Chad Brown Barn. And that's it for Before the Odds podcast. I'm Pick 5 Johnny. Hoping that you enjoyed this recap. Hoping it's helping you hope you understand what we're talking about with Lasix, no Lasix, gelded. Make sure you're finding those things on your PPs, studying up. Let's keep ourselves accountable. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about the Tampa Derby, probably recap a little bit of the 3-year-old races this past weekend, and talk about the ones going forward. Big Willis will be with me. Shout out to the Dirt Dogs. Hope you won the championship today again. And that's it. May all your tickets be winning ones. This is Before the Odds. Pick 5 Johnny signing out. Have a blessed day.